For all the chocolate fans, this is the one and only honey chocolate cake, aka the famous Russian Spartak cake. Now this is the chocolate version of the honey number cake that I made a few months ago and that you all loved. The chocolate version of the honey cake has very simple ingredients that you most likely have, and it's very inexpensive to make. And of course, what doesn't taste better with chocolate? The Spartak cake takes some effort, but like all good things in life, oh, so worth the time. Let me show you how to put it together. In a large mixing bowl, add 3 eggs, 1 cup of sugar, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 cup of honey, and mix very well to combine all of these ingredients. Then into the same bowl, add 1 stick of softened unsalted butter, and make sure your butter is not melted, just softened at room temperature. At this point, place your heat-proof bowl on top of simmering water and continue mixing until your butter is melted. Add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and whisk until your mixture becomes very fluffy and doubles in volume. Take it off the heat. Use roughly 2 ounces of a tasty chocolate, milk or dark is your choice. Melt it in the microwave or in a saucepan and add it to your mixture. Now at this point, we're going to combine the dry ingredients with the wet ingredients. In a sifter, add 4 cups of flour and 1/3 cup plus 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, also 1 teaspoon of espresso coffee, and that's just my personal preference. Sift the dry ingredients into the bowl and use a dough hook attachment to combine all of these ingredients. Make sure to scrape down the bowl while you're mixing. Your dough should be soft and slightly sticky to the touch. Cover it with plastic wrap and let the dough cool in the fridge for roughly 1 hour. This way, your dough will get a little more firm and easier to roll. Get the dough out of your bowl and divide it into 9 equal pieces. Roll each piece of dough into an approximately 12-inch diagonal directly on the parchment paper. Keep the rest of your dough pieces in the fridge or in a cool place. If your roll sticks to your dough, make sure to slightly dust with a little flour. Poke your dough with the fork, which will prevent it from getting puffy when baking. Bake your honey chocolate cake layers in a preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 5 minutes. Keep an eye on it, or it's always best if you set up the oven timer. Don't let it bake beyond 5 minutes as it will dry out too much and the edges will burn. When you take it out of the oven, your cake layers should still be a little soft to the touch. As soon as it's out of the oven, place a 12-inch round template around the cake and trim the sides. Keep the scraps, don't discard them. We will use them later when decorating the cake. Continue the process of rolling and baking the rest of the dough pieces. To speed up the process, I was rolling one dough while I was baking the other. We are all done. Look at all of these beautifully baked chocolate cake layers. And you can certainly make these up to 5 days prior to assembling your cake. Just make sure you lightly cover them and keep them in a cool and dry place. Let's proceed with making the delicious custard for our honey chocolate Spartak cake. First, we're going to warm up 2 cups of milk in the microwave for roughly 2 minutes. You can also use a saucepan, but do not boil your milk, just make sure it's warm. In a separate saucepan, add 2 eggs and 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of sugar and stir until you obtain a homogeneous consistency. For a little kick flavor, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of rum extract. And you can successfully substitute it with vanilla extract. Then add 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and this is where it gets a little cloudy. Whisk it well until you no longer see any lumps from the cornstarch. Now gradually add your warmed milk, continuing to mix all of the ingredients. At this point, set your stove to medium heat and continue mixing vigorously while adding the rest of the milk. Continue whisking to prevent any lumps until you see some bubbles popping on the surface and the custard beginning to thicken. Mix for another minute and take it off the heat. Now add some chunks of softened butter and continue whisking until the butter is completely melted and fully incorporated into the custard. I absolutely love the consistency of this cream. So silky smooth and the smells absolutely delicious. Transfer it to a separate glass bowl and cover it with plastic wrap by placing the wrap directly on top of the custard. Place it in the fridge for a few hours or best overnight. The day when you're ready to assemble your Spartak cake, take 1 cup of heavy whipping cream and add it to a mixing bowl. Start beating the cream with a 1/3 cup of powdered sugar on high speed until it thickens and you have a firm consistency. Just like this. Then take your custard that has been cooling in the fridge and gradually add the whipped cream, fully incorporating it each time. Combine the ingredients very gently to maintain the fluffiness of this custard. I absolutely love this custard. It is beyond delicious, creamy, and very light. It is time for the grand moment. We're going to assemble the honey chocolate Spartak cake. On your serving platter, place a little cream so the cake layers don't accidentally slide off. Then also place 2 pieces of parchment papers on the sides. This will allow a more clean decorating process. Place 1 cake layer and add roughly 3 to 4 tablespoons of custard on it and use a spatula to spread your custard all around. Repeat the process with the remaining cake layers until you are done. Make sure to coat the sides of your Spartak cake as well. Now let's crush the scraps into crumbs. The easiest way to do this is to use a blender or a food processor and give it a few pulses. Or place it in a Ziploc and whack it with a rolling pin until you have crumbs. Use a 1/3 of your crumbs and dust it on top of your cake. Then use the rest of it to cover the sides of your cake. Very simple, just like that. Remove the parchment paper and you're left with a clean platter and a delightful cake. Decorate it per your liking and oh my god, this is to die for. It's by far the most delicious chocolate cake I've ever tasted. If you're a chocolate addict like me, I highly recommend you make it. You can start enjoying it right away, however, it's best if you put it in the fridge overnight. It's velvety soft, moist, it's honey chocolatey. I think I just made this up. It's absolutely heavenly delicious. Now this is my idea of chocolate perfection. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe and check out our playlist for more delicious desserts like this. See you next time!